it's Reagan, and today I have a very exciting haul video for you guys. It's a little different than the haul videos I normally do, and that is because it is centering around ebooks, because I have an e-reader now and I commute and buy a lot of ebooks. But before I jump into the books themselves, I want to show off my new Nook 10. I am loving this thing. It is the newly released tablet by Barnes & Noble, and honestly, it is the best thing for my commute that has ever happened. It's super lightweight. I bring it with me every morning on the train, but it also has this amazing HD screen, which makes reading really easy. I used to read on my phone, which honestly is really cramped and small, and honestly was hurting my eyes, especially in the morning. So having such a big tablet has really stepped up and changed my morning and evening commute game. But yeah, I am a huge fan of this thing. It's actually on sale now for the holiday season, which I'll leave linked down below. There's also a bunch of really cool accessories that go with this, like a stand and a keyboard. So it really becomes like an all-in-one tablet for like reading, but also for your home itself. So big shout out to Barnes & Noble for sending me this tablet and working with me for this video. But without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the ebook haul. So my favorite thing about reading on an e-reader, especially when commuting, is basically condensing like incredibly heavy 1,000-page fantasy novels into like this. So a lot of the books I have been buying are quite hefty. That's not all of the books, but a lot of them are quite large. The first one, and my very first ebook purchase, which I feel like changed my life, was Oathbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. Oh, you can't see the cover. Loved reading Oathbreaker on an e-reader. Honestly, I mostly read it digitally. It's so much lighter this way, but also the illustrations, which this novel is stock full of, you get to like zoom in and like really see the full color definition of those beautiful illustrations throughout the book, which is something I really enjoyed. But the Stormlight Archives is one of my favorite book series of all time by Brandon Sanderson. It is an absolutely incredible epic fantasy story following a myriad of different characters, and each book kind of focuses on one specific character's like story arc, but ultimately their worlds kind of collide and a big epic thing begins to happen. They have to kind of like save their world and their universe as, you know, they know it. It's awesome. I read it over the summer and through the first part of the fall. Incredible. I figure I should just stay on the Brandon Sanderson train. The next Brandon Sanderson novel I have is Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. And the exciting thing about this ebook is that it's actually free on brandonsanderson.com, so you can download it for free. I'll leave a link down below, but I love this book. Another book that I read mostly on my commute. This is an incredible first book to a series. I actually believe there is another one coming out that I loved. It was a bit of a sleeper for me, but it basically follows two sisters who grew up in a kingdom that is very like austere. They don't wear bright colors, magic is forbidden, and basically they have been raised their whole life that the older sister is going to go and marry this very powerful figure in a competing kingdom called the God King. However, at the very beginning, the younger sister is very quickly chosen and sent off instead, and the older sister chases after her to try to save her. This world is incredibly complex and rich. The magic system is centering around the concepts of breath. Everyone is born with one breath, but that you can have more than one if they're freely given to you. You can't steal them. And the more breaths you have, the more powerful you are. Colors are more vibrant, and you can animate inanimate objects to do your bidding. It's so fascinating, and I love this book so much. Definitely one of my favorite Brandon Sanderson books of all time, which is not a statement lightly said, and I loved it so much. And it's a free ebook. Check it out. Next, I have Bands of Mourning by Brandon Sanderson, which is my current commute book that I'm reading on my Nook. This is the third book to the new Mistborn trilogy. It is the Alloy of Law trilogy that is a flintlock fantasy set in the Mistborn world. We follow our main characters, Wax and Wayne, who are like these rough outlaw crime fighters who have to go back to the big city, and he's like having a hard time fitting in. And the first two books of the series I really enjoyed, but the third one I feel like is really bringing the plot to a next level area. This novel is also hilarious. I feel like Brandon Sanderson does a really good job like expanding the magic and the world of the Mistborn universe in this novel, but also adds a level of like levity that didn't necessarily exist in the third one. So many hilarious one-liners that I love so much. Next ebook I have is Bridge of Clay by Markus Zusak, another very large novel. This is Markus Zusak's newest release, and it's a contemporary novel following like 4 brothers growing up in Australia. It's written by the oldest brother and is kind of told from his perspective. The narrative style of this story is very unique and kind of took me a little bit to get into, but I'm still currently reading this book and I am liking it. I do need to get back to it. Honestly, one of the perks of ebooks that I just never appreciated until I'm on the go so much now is that it's so nice. Like some mornings I feel like reading contemporary so I can read Bridge of Clay super easily, or switch to fantasy for like my commute home and my whole library is like in my hands. I love it. Next novel I have is a newer purchase, and that is Renegades by Marissa Mayer. This is a book that I've seen particularly Emma Books talk on and on about how much she loves it and how much everyone needs to be reading it, and the sequel just recently came out. So it seemed like a very exciting novel that I finally just caved in, bought it both in physical and in ebook form, because I have a bad habit of also doing that because I just want to have it on me at all times. This seems like a science fiction adventure novel, probably a bit of X-Men vibes. I haven't really read the synopsis, particularly because it's really fast paced apparently, and it has such like an intense, fast moving plot. I don't really want like any indicators of what it's about, so I can avoid all spoilers. Next up, I have The Poppy War. This is a very intense fantasy story that I've heard pretty good things about, and it's like a very dark adult fantasy novel. But yes, it basically follows our main character who takes an empire-wide test that is very much inspired by the ancient Chinese examination system. So she takes this test, gets granted into this very prestigious school. She thinks this is gonna be kind of the solve to all of her answers, but once she joins, she's very much ostracized. She then stumbles into like a dark power that kind of changes her world forever. I've heard really good things about this novel. I am obviously a huge fan of fantasy and dark fantasy at that, so I feel like this is something I'm really gonna enjoy. Next up, I have Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. I recently bought this because I am determined to finish it by the end of the year, so I wanted to have it for my Nook for when I'm commuting, as it would be a no excuse world for me not to finish this. But this is a sequel, of course, to Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor, which I read and loved last year. It is a dual perspective fantasy story that's just unbelievably beautiful. Honestly, like breathtaking is how I would describe Laini Taylor's writing. But one of our main characters is Laszlo Strange, who is fascinated and is a scholar of this lost city of Weep. The city lost its name, and basically no one's really been to it since this occurrence happened. An envoy comes, selects Laszlo to go and try to help solve its problems along with some other individuals. He gets tied up in the politics. Oh, it's so beautiful. It has such an interesting magical system. Amazing. I love it. That's why I got it for my Nook, so I can read it wherever I am. And the last book I bought for my Nook, my last ebook in this haul, is Foundry Side. Similar to Muse of Nightmares and Poppy War, this is just a book I really feel like I'm going to love and kind of just want to make sure I have on me at all times. This is a new fantasy novel that I feel like is kind of sweeping the space. It's, you know, there's a blurb by Brandon Sanderson on the front. It has so many elements of a story that I love that I'm just so excited for it. I bought it in both forms, ebook and physical form. It basically follows a female thief who's very acclaimed, can steal anything. One day she's hired to steal this very difficult to receive artifact. She does it successfully because she's a really good thief, but then now she finds herself wrapped up in a bunch of unforeseen politics, and I don't know, it just sounds like a really good start of a first book in a series, so I'm excited to have it. Alrighty guys, that is my ebook haul for my new Nook 10. Of course, I'll have a link down below if you guys want to learn more about this Nook. I am loving it. I use it every day, so it's kind of been a life changer. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys soon with another video soon. Goodbye!